Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for this segment, we have Andrew Crowell, Financial Advisor and Vice Chairman of Wealth Management at DA Davidson. He joins us for Cybersecurity Awareness Month to discuss the most common scams, warning signs, and tips to prevent you or your loved one from becoming a victim of financial fraud. It is great to have you with us. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill. Pleasure to be here.
You got it. And let's talk about the most common scams. What is it that we need to be aware of?
Boy, there's a lot of them, but the big three are a romance scam, a grandparent scam, and an IRS impersonator scam. Let me go through them real quickly. The romance scam, sadly, there are fraudsters that are preying on widows, widowers, newly divorced persons, people who are vulnerable, and usually starts out with an online sort of friendly message connect or LinkedIn connection, and can spiral out of control as they sort of build trust in a digital persona that allows the innocent victim to fall prey to it and feel like they're being noticed, they're being heard, and they're being appreciated. And before you know it, maybe finances change hand. The grandparent scam, this is a terrible one. It's happened in my family and several of my clients' families. Grandparents would do anything for their grandchildren, right? Suddenly getting a call from somebody impersonating their grandchild who's saying they're stuck at the border and they need money, or they're in an airport in London and they need a quick wire of funds. And the urgency and the love they have for the urgency of the request and the love they have for their grandchildren cause them to act before they think. And you can hang up and call your grandson or granddaughter and find out if it really was them. But unfortunately, we see this. And then finally, the IRS impersonator, it's amazing. And we came through tax season, we had an extension this year, but if somebody from the IRS calls you on your cell phone, you should ask the question, how did they get my cell phone number and why are they calling me? And if I should be able to call the IRS office directly to verify that there's been a return filed in my name that I didn't know about or what have you. But these are three common ones we see, Jill.
Well, it's not always easy to get through to a person at the IRS either. So what red flags should we be aware of?
A logical first one is if it seems too good to be true, it likely is. And what I mean by that is if you get a message out of the blue, an email request, a text, does it make sense? Are there misspellings? Is the person or the sender, is it a correct URL? Is it from Netflix.com with 3 X's in it? These kinds of things, they can look to the quick glance like they're legit, but they often aren't. And is the message or the email requesting immediate action? That's a common trait of all of these scams. They're trying to get you to act before you think, click on a link, and before you know it, you've downloaded malware, that kind of thing. And then lastly, how did the individual even get your email or phone number or mailing address? Sometimes just asking the question, is it reasonable to assume that somebody at Amazon has my cell phone number and is calling me directly and asking me to verify a package or something? No, these companies are using email notifications and they're showing pictures of your package and so forth. So somebody just calling you out of the blue, asking you to give a tracking number or whatever is probably not a good sign.
I feel like most of the companies communicate through the app more than anything else.
Correct.
As well. So with that said, what can you do to stay safe and not fall victim to a scam? What preventative actions can you take?
So first and foremost, stop and think before you act. Just because you have a smartphone in your hand and instant messaging has become common for all of us, doesn't mean when you get an inbound email or text message on your phone that you have to take immediate action. As you correctly said, if you have the Netflix app on your phone and you received a message from Netflix saying that you needed to change your password, much safer to go directly to the app, change your password within the app that you know is from the legitimate source, and not click on a link in an email or a text message. Number two, this day and age, banks, brokerage firms, insurance companies will allow you to add a trusted contact to your account. It's not somebody who can act on your behalf, but it is somebody that company could phone if they suspect that you might be a victim of financial fraud or some undue influence in your life, and so just having that layer of protection to know, gosh, if I begin acting a little bit impulsively or irrationally, I'm giving them the permission to say, hey, what do you know about this so-and-so individual after all? And when did they come into their life and what are their intentions and so forth? So I think adding a trusted contact is a good one. Also, not storing your information everywhere on the internet. And what I mean by that is we've all done online shopping, but you can continue as a guest without giving your credit card information and having it stored on a bunch of online merchants' websites. That's, again, just opening you up to more potential breaches because you've got your information out on multiple platforms. And then lastly, so many of us have gotten out of the habit of this, but carefully review your statements each and every month. There's a lot of activity in a bank statement, but you know what you bought. So if you glance down the activity statement, you may see something like an Uber that you never took because you didn't take Uber that month. So how did that charge get on there? Be vigilant about reviewing your account statements.
Yeah, that's great. We do overlook it because everything is automated and it's done online or through the app. So I'm guilty of that myself. So recently you did a financial fraud survey at DA Davidson, many of the talking points that we've covered here. Was there anything else of note that we should be aware of?
Yeah, unfortunately, as technology's gotten more sophisticated, so have the fraudsters. And they are using what look like real legitimate logos, real legitimate emails, real legitimate text messages. And so we need to be on alert, heightened security that fraudsters are working overtime to trick you out of your money or out of your personal information. That's number one. Number two, in that survey, we learned that 1 out of 5 Americans has personally been a victim of fraud. 1 out of 5. And when we asked, only about a third of the people we polled said that they felt confident in their ability to detect financial fraud. Now, we know from surveys, people tend to overestimate their self-awareness and their ability to detect things. And for less than a third to feel confident tells you people are really humbled by this. We learned that 1 in 4 know somebody who's been a victim of financial fraud. So you think about every family of 4 probably has one person in that family that's been a victim of it. So the fraudsters are getting better. It's happening everywhere. So we need to be on heightened alert. And the last thing I would say is use a trusted financial professional. Bounce these ideas off of a trusted partner. It may be your first time receiving an email like that or a text message or a phone call like that. But if you call your financial advisor, chances are they or one of their clients has already been victim of a similar kind of thing, and they can just be a sounding board. They can be that buffer that gets you to think before you act. And I think just taking a pause, taking a deep breath, and maybe calling someone saying, Jill, does this make sense to you? I was a little surprised, but what do you think? That can help.
Yeah. All right, Andrew, we appreciate your insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Market Reporter at Nasdaq.